Hi there, and welcome to She Spice. Apparently, Imprint Wahlberg and Ferrell may have unpretentiously alluded to Kevin Hart being somewhat of a blended variety in the Hollywood scene. Bits of hearsay are whirling after Walberg and Ferrell dropped a few secretive comments that appeared to point toward Hart. So what precisely did they say? Having various widely praised motion pictures added to his repertoire, Imprint Wahlberg became quite possibly of the most prestigious face in Hollywood, playing his scandalous job of Cade Jagger in Mutt. Hale Cove's well-known Transformers establishment. Walberg gave his hands a shot science fiction motion pictures. Further, the entertainer even imparted the screen to the eminent comic Kevin Hart in the 2022 film Personal Time following their presentation and cooperating imprints. Walberg showed up on Kevin Hart's show Honest Conversation to review his profession timetable. Showing up on the show almost immediately in 2023, Walberg invested quality energy examining his beginning and battles in Hollywood. Anyway, soon Hart proceeded to go after the entertainer for his developing age, that youthful inclination embarrassed by Hart's way to deal with the conversation about his residency in Hollywood. Imprint Wahlberg pummeled the comic for his ageism. "You ain't that effing youthful, quit effing with everyone that is somewhat more seasoned." Wahlberg got down to further reviewing Hart's past embarrassing episode of ageism with MCU entertainer Ferrell. Wahlberg condemned the host for his malignant methodology for setting in 2021. Kevin Hart and Ferrell were taking part in a conversation about age and the importance of damn in a now popular clasp from Peacock's Heart to Heart. The series Heart to Heart had been advanced as a spontaneous, unscripted, unfiltered, syndicated program, and only a week after its delivery, a piece of it had earned huge consideration. Before that week, a watcher shared a clip from the Peacock series on Twitter that exhibited what appeared to be an entertaining trade between Hart and the visitor. Ferrell II emerged when Cheel referenced his age. I'm sorry. Regardless of Hart's endeavor to apologize, Cheel's disposition stayed disinterested. Simply comprehend. I didn't mean the manner in which it came out. Hart demanded we take a survey on how you implied it with individuals here later, after the show's over. Cheel countered the discussion, which then, at that point, developed into a lively banter as they endeavored to interpret the specific idea of Hart's damn. Cheel brought up the resulting damn Hart expressed as he attempted to explain to himself how he contrasted with the underlying one, as Cheel clearly expressed that these were two distinct dams. The clasp immediately built up some decent momentum, being shared in excess of multiple times and collecting more than 70,000 preferences, regardless of the comedic nature of the trade. A few watchers deciphered it as an unpretentious type of joke from the Hart towards Cheel. He seemed to be the words that really hit him in the face. One eyewitness remarked on Cheel's response. Another watcher tweeted that it was so awkward to watch, while the cooperation with Cheel was without a doubt disagreeable. This next episode disapproved of a new level at some point back. Kevin welcomed Ferrell onto his show just to hint that their coordinated effort ought to be done soon as Will's lifespan was restricted. This nervy comment caused a stir as well as lighted a firestorm of analysis, passing on numerous points to consider how far Hart will push the limits of parody at the cost of his regarded partners. I really want to believe that we will take care of business again, because I don't have any idea how long you have left, and would you realize that I would cherish it for us to accomplish something before it's past the point of no return. Kevin's comments struck such a nerve that they left him quickly puzzled, yet he ultimately gathered the boldness to stand up to Kevin about his supposed inside information on a hazardous sickness that even Will himself hadn't been uninformed about. Something you are familiar with that I don't know, like clinical well-being history, is that fans accept that Kevin was confounded because of Will's adjustment bish reaction? What an astonishing reaction to a so-called punch taken at him. He didn't hinder, he didn't counter. He just wound around. He got it done so wonderfully that it even lost the aggressor. It made Kevin break anyway. Science, it is astounding to see that they rushed to continue to work off of one another's jokes, and the way in which Kevin needed to keep it going yet broke character, since Will is simply too entertaining, adding to the mounting show. Kevin participated in a light disagreement with, as a matter of fact, Dr. Dre, the unbelievable craftsman liable for molding the vocations of endless performers and his contribution to different high-profile undertakings. Kevin had the guts to blame Drew for Bogus's age, making him more established than he is as of now. You're not going to the 60 entryway. Regardless, as late entertainer and comic Monique likewise talked about how Kevin Hart is supposedly a Hollywood plant who flourishes at ridiculing jokesters in need. I didn't request that Kevin Hart do whatever he said. I'll chiefly produce it. I'll cooperate with you. I said, great, Kevin, because we're in an arrangement with Indale. Monique introduced her remarks about Hart by conceding that he composed a check to help her when she was down terrible, and that she would be perpetually thankful for it. However, she tried to say that she repaid it with interest when the entertainer was a visitor on Hart's digital recording. In the satire Mother Loads in 2021, he presented her as an aunt, a mom, and a soul and called her mom. Mo talked on the webcast about Oprah Perry and valuable Chief Lee Daniels, who had not yet freely apologized to her. Hart said he'd connect with Perry to facilitate crushing the hamburger, which Perry was supposedly not manageable. Yet she said Hart guaranteed her he would execute produce and join forces with her on anything she was dealing with, which energized her since she and Hicks were chipping away at a syndicated program. Arrangement Hart's chief Dave Becky purportedly told Monique's creation organization that Hart believed nothing should do with her. I called Kevin Hart right away and let him know they said you would have rather not worked with me. She said he said it's simply a miscommunication. We will talk. Tuesday, that was a long time ago. I've at no point ever conversed with Kevin Hart. If we're confronted with you, permit somebody to divide your relationship with a lady you said resembled your mom. Now, the bizarre thing about this is that Monique isn't the main individual to uncover Kevin Hart for purportedly being a power slave, you see. Simply a month prior, Feline Williams sat in a similar seat on the Club Shea Webb recording discussing Kevin Hart. Williams started by featuring the shocking direction of Kevin Hart's profession in Hollywood by first scrutinizing the uncommon speed with which Hart made progress in 15 years in Hollywood. Nobody in Hollywood has a memory of going to a sold-out Kevin Hart show where there was a line for him to truly get a substitute. Applause at any satire club, Williams continued and proposed that Hart's fast climb was strange, and suggested the conversation starter of whether Hart had really paid his contribution in the serious universe of stand-up satire. The jokester underscored the meaning of the excursion and addressed whether Hart's apparently momentary achievement was demonstrative of an alternate story. He had already made his arrangements when he arrived. Have we heard about a comic that came to LA? In his most memorable year in LA, he had his own sitcom on network TV and his own film, Soul PL, that he was driving. In the meeting, Feline Williams acquainted herself with the term plant, which depicts somebody who apparently shows up out of the blue and accomplishes accomplishments without the conventional battles that entertainers frequently face and afterward asserts they are independent. Williams then, at that point, noticed the way that Kevin Hart's narrative with Chris Rock uncovered his parody defeats on the East Coast. He highlighted an apparent inconsistency in Hart's story, noticing he just did his narrative with Chris Rock, where he shows you that his entire childhood in satire was on the East Coast, so how all the while was he here in Los Angeles doing likewise? It didn't occur. Williams examined the irregularities in Hart's story testing, and the WID acknowledged the account of an out-of-the-blue phenomenon regardless. Kevin Hart additionally once tended to the gossipy tidbits about his unexpected phenomenon in 2014. Kevin Hart plunked down with Oprah for a meeting on Oprah Prime, where he dug into the complexities of his soaring vocation and the unforgiving real factors of making progress in Hollywood. He has an approach to causing all that to appear to be an out-of-the-blue phenomenon that Hart made sense of during the meeting. Yet I've had 18 years in the business. I set forth my effort and got contributions that have been endlessly paid once more and paid once again. After that, I remained consistent with my dreams, and at last they materialized. Oprah brought up the endless, diligent people endeavoring to break into the business and make progress. She tested her heart on why he had the option to do it, while so many others confronted outlandish difficulties. The distinction for me is that I focused on what individuals did before me, whether it was correct or wrong. Hart reflected that everyone who is fruitful spreads a plan out, in addition to the fact that Hart paid consideration. Even back in 2014, he encircled himself with substantial tokens of the people who paved the way for him, from Eddie Murphy to Chris Rock to Richard. Earlier, the walls of his home were embellished with pictures and compositions of humorists. He considered tutors to serve as day-to-day motivation. I descend from these means consistently. I take a gander at Richard. He was extraordinary. I see Eddie. He was incredible. I see Chris Rock. He was extraordinary. Hart shared. It's a steady update. What am I attempting to accomplish? I need to be incredible. This resolute inspiration, as Hart communicated in the meeting, was his confidence in. Subscribe She Spice for more videos.